Daeho Kim looked out the window of his ship and saw the giant space station floating in the darkness. The Galactic Council station was huge, bigger than most cities on Earth. Silver metal towers reached out in all directions, like the arms of a star. Lights blinked on and off as alien ships moved around it like busy insects. "We're almost there, Ambassador," said Captain Hyjin Park from behind him. She was the head of his security team and had been his friend for 10 years. "Are you ready for this?" Daeho touched the small case in his hand. Inside were the peace treaties that Earth had worked on for 5 years. Every word had been checked and checked again. Every offer had been made as fair as possible. Earth wanted peace with all the alien races, and these papers would make it happen. "I have to be ready," Daeho said. "This is our last chance." The ship UES Harmony moved slowly toward the docking bay. Through the metal walls, Daeho could hear the crew getting everything ready. Commander Woo Jin Lee was talking to his pilots on the radio. The escort ships were staying close, just in case something went wrong. But nothing would go wrong. This was a peace meeting. The 7 alien races had all agreed to come here and listen to Earth's offer. They might not like humans very much, but they would follow the old rules about diplomats being safe. Hyjin Park sat down next to Daeho. Her face looked worried. "The aliens haven't been very friendly to us lately," she said. "Maybe we should have brought more security." "No," Daeho said. "More guards would make them think we don't trust them. We need to show that Earth wants peace, not war." The ship shook a little as it connected to the station. Air rushed through the tubes that joined them together. Soon they would walk into the alien station and begin the most important meeting in human history. Daeho had been Earth's top diplomat for 15 years. He had talked with angry governments, stopped 3 wars, and made peace between countries that hated each other. But this was different. This time he was speaking for all of humanity to alien races that some people said wanted to destroy Earth. "Sir," came a voice from the ship's speakers. "We have a message from Earth." President Chan Wook-yoon appeared on the screen. His gray hair was neat as always, but his eyes looked tired. Behind him, Daeho could see the flags of all Earth's nations, hanging in the presidential office. "Daeho, my friend," the president said. "The whole world is watching. Do your best, but remember, if they won't accept peace, we will be ready for whatever comes next." The screen went dark. Daeho knew what the president meant. Earth had not been sitting quietly while the aliens grew stronger. There were secrets, plans that most people didn't know about. But Daeho pushed those thoughts away. Today was about peace. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Alien air flowed into the ship. It smelled different, like metal and something sweet that Daeho couldn't name. 2 robot guides waited for them. They were silver and moved without making any sound. "Ambassador Kim," one of the robots said in perfect English. "Please follow us to the council chamber." Daeho picked up his case and walked through the airlock. Hyjin and 4 guards followed him. The station hallways were wide and tall, built for aliens that were bigger than humans. Strange writing covered the walls, glowing with soft blue light. They passed other aliens in the hallways. The Vorthak were tall and covered in gray skin that looked like armor. Their red eyes watched the humans with no friendly feeling. The Nexus aliens looked more like humans, but with silver skin and no hair. They wore expensive clothes and jewelry that sparkled under the lights. "Remember," Hyjin whispered to Daeho, "smile and be polite, but stay alert." The council chamber was enormous. 7 curved tables sat in a circle, each one for a different alien race. In the center was a small platform where speakers would stand. The ceiling was made of clear material that showed the stars outside. Alien delegates were already sitting at their tables. Daeho recognized most of them from the files he had studied. War Prime Graktal of the Vorthak Empire sat like a statue, his red eyes never blinking. Trademaster Nexara of the Nexus Collective played with a small device that projected numbers in the air. The other 5 races were there too. The Zenth, with their blue skin and multiple arms. The Corvin, who looked like walking trees. The small pixie-like Nim, who flew around on tiny wings. The rock-like Goron, who barely moved at all. And the Flux, who were made of energy and had no solid form. Humans, announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You may present your proposal." Deho walked to the center platform. The case felt heavy in his hands, even though it weighed almost nothing. Inside were humanity's hopes for the future. Peace between Earth and the galaxy, trade agreements that would help both sides, technology sharing that could solve problems for everyone. "Honored delegates," Deho began, "I come here today not as a conqueror or a beggar, but as a friend. Earth offers you partnership." He opened the case and took out a small device. It projected images in the air above his head, pictures of Earth's cities, its green forests, its blue oceans. Then images of human technology, medical machines that could cure diseases, power sources that never ran out, computers that could think almost like people. "We offer our knowledge freely," Deho said. "Our doctors could help heal your sick. Our engineers could help build your cities. Our teachers could help your children learn. All we ask in return is peace." The chamber was quiet. Some aliens leaned forward to look at the images. Others sat back in their chairs like they were bored. War Prime Graktal stood up. His voice sounded like grinding stones. "Humans speak of peace, but you take our worlds. You build your colonies where we used to hunt. You are like a disease that spreads." "We have built on empty worlds," Deho replied calmly. "Worlds with no intelligent life. We have never taken anything that belonged to others. All space belongs to the strong," Graktal said. "Humans are weak. You send words instead of warriors. You offer gifts instead of showing power." Trade Master Nexara laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "The Vorthak see only war, but I see opportunity. What do humans want in exchange for their gifts?" "Trade routes," Deho said. "Safe passage for our merchant ships, protection for our colonies, and most importantly, a promise that our peoples will not fight." "And if we refuse?" asked the Zenth delegate, her forearms moving as she spoke. Deho was quiet for a moment. This was the most important part. "Then Earth will continue as we have always done. We will protect ourselves and our people. We hope that will not be necessary." The aliens talked among themselves in their own languages. Deho couldn't understand the words, but he could read their body language. Some seemed interested. Others looked angry. A few appeared to be making plans. After an hour of discussion, War Prime Graktal stood again. "We will consider your words, human, but know this: the galaxy belongs to those who can take it and keep it. Your Earth is far away. Your colonies are small. Perhaps it is time for stronger races to lead." The meeting ended with no clear answer. The aliens said they would talk more and give Earth an answer in 3 days. As Deho walked back to his ship, he felt tired but hopeful. At least they were talking instead of shooting. "How do you think it went?" Hyojin asked as they reached the Harmony. "Better than I feared, not as good as I hoped," Deho said. "But we planted seeds. Maybe some of them will grow." That night, as he wrote in his personal log, Deho thought about Earth and all the people counting on him. Tomorrow he would try again. He would keep trying until peace was achieved or until it became impossible. He had no way of knowing that. Some of the aliens were already making very different plans. 3 days had passed since the first meeting. Deho Kim stood in his small room on the space station, getting ready for what he hoped would be the final peace talks. He had spent hours going over every detail of Earth's offer, making sure everything was perfect. A soft knock came at his door. "Come in," he called. Hee-Jin Park entered, carrying a cup of coffee. She looked tired and worried. "The aliens want to have a cultural ceremony before the final talks," she said. "Something about showing respect for each other's traditions." "That sounds positive," Deho said, taking the coffee. It was Earth coffee, brought from home. The familiar taste made him think of his wife and daughter waiting for him back on Earth. "Maybe," Hyojin said. "But my security team has been watching the aliens. They've been meeting in private groups. The Vorthak and Nexus have been talking, a lot. So have the others." "Of course they're talking," Deho said. "They're deciding whether to accept our offer. That's what we want them to do." "Sir, with respect, I think something else is happening. Yesterday, a group of Vorthak warriors came to the station. They're supposed to be honor guards for the ceremony, but there are too many of them." Deho set down his coffee and looked at his security chief. Hyejin had been protecting diplomats for 12 years. She had good instincts about danger. "What do you suggest?" he asked. "Let me call Commander Lee. Have him bring the escort ships closer to the station, just in case." "No," Daeho said firmly. "If we show fear now, the aliens will think we don't. Trust them. Peace talks require trust." Hyejin didn't look happy, but she nodded. "Yes, sir. But please, let me keep extra guards with you during the ceremony." "2 guards," Daeho agreed. "Any more would look like we expect trouble." An hour later, Daeho and his small team walked toward the ceremony hall. It was a beautiful room with a dome ceiling that showed the stars. In the center was a raised platform surrounded by alien delegates. War Prime Graktal stood on the platform, wearing ceremonial armor that gleamed under the lights. In his hands was a curved blade covered in strange writing. Other aliens stood, in a circle around him, each carrying items from their own cultures. "Welcome, Ambassador Kim," Graktal said. His voice echoed in the large room. "Today we honor the traditions of our peoples before we speak of the future." Daeho walked to the center of the circle. The aliens around him seemed tense, but he thought it was just nervousness about the peace talks. "I am honored to participate," Daeho said. "Earth respects the cultures of all intelligent beings." Graktal raised his blade toward the stars. "This weapon has been in my family for 1,000 years. It has taken the lives of many enemies. It represents the strength of the Vorthak people." The other aliens began to speak about their own cultural items. The Nexus delegate showed a crystal that stored the memories of their ancestors. The Zenth displayed a piece of art that changed colors as emotions shifted. Each item told a story about their race. When it was Daeho's turn, he pulled out a small box from Earth. Inside was a seed from an oak tree that had grown in his hometown for 300 years. "This seed represents hope," he said. "No matter how small or weak it seems, it can grow into something mighty and beautiful. That is what Earth offers the galaxy, the seed of a peaceful future." Some aliens nodded with approval. Others looked bored. But Graktal's red eyes seemed to burn with anger. "Seeds are for farmers," the War Prime said. "Warriors plant different kinds of seeds." Before anyone could react, Graktal moved faster than Daeho thought possible. The ceremonial blade flashed through the air and struck deep into the ambassador's chest. Daeho looked down in shock at the silver metal sticking out of his body. Blood spread across his white diplomatic robes. The seed box fell from his hands and scattered its contents on the floor. "For the honor of killing the human contamination," Graktal announced to the room. Hyejin Park screamed and rushed toward her ambassador, but Vorthak warriors were already moving. Energy weapons fired from multiple directions. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. Daeho fell to his knees, his hands trying to stop the blood flowing from his wound. He looked up at Graktal, who was smiling with satisfaction. "Why?" Daeho whispered. "Because humans are a disease," Graktal replied. "Today we begin the cure." More energy blasts filled the room. Hyejin fell beside Daeho, her security uniform, burned and smoking. The 2 human guards never had a chance to draw their weapons. As his vision grew dark, Daeho could hear aliens laughing, actually laughing at his death. The sound would have been the last thing he heard, but Hyejin managed to speak one final time. "Recording transmitted," she gasped with her last breath. "Earth will know." Daeho Kim, Earth's ambassador of peace, died on the floor of an alien ceremony hall, surrounded by the scattered seeds of an oak tree that would never grow, far. Away on the escort ship UES Retribution, Commander Woo Jin Lee was drinking coffee and reading reports when his communications officer suddenly shouted, "Sir, emergency transmission from the ambassador's security team." The main screen lit up with Hyejin Park's final message. The bridge crew watched in horror as the recording showed the ambassador's murder and the slaughter of his guards. They heard the aliens laughing. They saw Graktal pull his bloody blade from a man who had come in peace. When the recording ended, the bridge was completely silent. Commander Lee's coffee cup had fallen from his hand and shattered on the floor. "Sir," his weapons officer said, quietly. "Orders?" Lee was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated the ship's emergency communication system. "This is Commander Lee to all Earth vessels and stations. Code Black. Repeat. Code Black. The ambassador is dead. All diplomatic immunity is void." Await orders from Earth Command. The message flashed across space faster than light, reaching Earth in minutes. In the presidential palace, alarms began to sound. In hidden military bases, computers started activating weapon systems that had been sleeping for decades. President Chan Wook-yoon was pulled from a meeting and rushed to the war room. Deep below the Capitol, the recording of Daeho's murder played on the screens around him. Military advisors and government officials watched with growing anger and horror. "How many ships do we have in that sector?" the president asked quietly. 12 escort vessels. "Sir," replied Fleet Admiral Mira Seo, "but there are 7 alien fleets in the area, over 300 ships total. And our nearest battle fleet?" 6 hours away, Mr. President." President Yoon watched the recording again. He saw his friend and ambassador murdered in cold blood during a peace ceremony. He saw the aliens laughing at human death. "Admiral Seo," he said, "activate the Phoenix protocols." "Sir, are you certain?" "Once we activate Phoenix, there's no going back." "They made that choice when they killed our ambassador," the president said. "Send the activation codes." Deep in hidden bunkers around Earth, machines that had waited silently for decades suddenly came to life. Military factories that looked like civilian buildings began producing weapons of incredible power. Shipyards hidden behind the moon started, preparing vessels that had never been seen by alien eyes. Meanwhile, on the Galactic Council station, the alien delegates were celebrating their successful deception. They believed they had eliminated Earth's diplomatic influence and could now move against human colonies without interference. War Prime Graktal cleaned his ceremonial blade, still stained with Ambassador Kim's blood. "The humans will cry and complain to the Council," he told the other delegates, "but they are weak. They will do nothing." Trademaster Nexara agreed. "Earth is far away. Their colonies are scattered and poorly defended. We can take them one by one." The aliens began making plans for their attack on human space. They divided up human worlds like prizes, deciding who would get what after the conquest was complete. None of them noticed the escort ships withdrawing to a safe distance. None of them paid attention to the strange energy readings coming from the direction of Earth. In 6 hours, they would learn that they had made the greatest mistake in galactic history. Earth had offered peace. The aliens had chosen war. Now they would discover what humanity was really capable of when their patience finally ended. President Chan Wook-yoon stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's capital city. Around him, screens showed military bases across the galaxy coming to life. For the first time in over 200 years, humanity was preparing for total war. Phoenix. "Protocol activation complete, Mr. President," reported Fleet Admiral Mira Seo. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with cold anger. "All hidden assets are now online." "Show me what we have," the president said. The main screen changed to display a map of human space. Red dots appeared one by one, each representing a military installation that the aliens didn't know existed. There were hundreds of them. "Mr. President," Admiral Seo continued, "when we began colonizing space, we learned a hard lesson. Peace is only possible when you're strong enough to defend it. So we built 2 civilizations, one that the aliens could see and one that they couldn't." The president nodded. He had been part of the Phoenix Project's creation 30 years ago. Back then, it seemed like paranoid planning. Now it looked like the smartest decision humanity had ever made. "Every mining station has hidden weapon factories," Admiral Seo explained. "Every research facility has a military command center. Every peaceful colony has enough firepower to destroy an alien fleet. On the moon's dark side, massive doors opened in what looked like empty craters. Inside were shipyards, where humanity's true fleet had been built in secret. Ships that were 3 times larger than anything the aliens had ever seen began moving into space. "The Vengeance-class dreadnoughts," Admiral Seo said as the enormous vessels appeared on screen. "We have 47 of them. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy a planet." General Tae-hyun Park entered the war room, still wearing the civilian clothes he had been forced to leave behind. As Earth's military forces mobilized, he had been recalled from his sister's funeral. Hai-jin Park had died protecting Ambassador Kim, and now her brother would help avenge her death. "General," the president said, "how long to mobilize our ground forces?" "They're already mobilized, sir," General Park replied. "Every human colony has citizen soldiers. Our farmers and miners have been training with military weapons for decades. We have 40 million troops ready for combat across 47 worlds. The president walked to a window that showed Earth's blue surface far above. Somewhere up there, families were learning that their loved ones had been murdered during a peace mission. Children were asking why the aliens hated humans so much. "Sir," came a voice from the communication station, "we're receiving surrender. Offers from 3 alien races. They want to negotiate." "After they murdered our ambassador during peace talks?" the president asked. "Tell them Earth does not negotiate with murderers." Dr. Young-Soo Nam, Earth's chief scientist, approached with a tablet computer. He looked excited and frightened at the same time. "Mr. President, the Phoenix weapons are ready for deployment. All of them. Remind me what we have, Doctor. Antimatter torpedoes that can destroy anything they touch. Gravitational bombs that create small black holes. Planet crackers that can split a world in half. And the singularity weapon." The president had hoped never to hear about these weapons again. They were too powerful, too terrible to use, except in the most desperate circumstances. "The aliens have given us no choice," he said quietly. "Prepare everything." Meanwhile, in space near the Galactic Council station, Commander Woo Jin Lee watched as alien fleets began gathering. The murderers thought they were preparing to invade human space. They had no idea what was coming for them. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "we're detecting massive energy signatures from Earth's direction. Whatever they're preparing, it's big." Commander Lee smiled for the first time since watching his ambassador die. "Good. Open a channel to the alien fleets." "Sir, they'll be able to track our position. I want them to track us. Send this message on all frequencies." The communication channel opened. Commander Lee's voice was broadcast to every alien ship in the area. "This is Commander Woo Jin Lee of the Earth Defense Force. You have murdered our ambassador during a peace mission. You have declared war on humanity. Earth does not forgive. Earth does not forget. Your fleets will be destroyed. Your worlds will fall. This is your only warning." On the Galactic Council station, War Prime Graktal laughed when he heard the message. "One small human ship threatens our combined fleets? They are even more foolish than I thought." Trademaster Nexara was not laughing. Her instruments were showing energy readings that didn't make sense. "Something is wrong. The humans are broadcasting power signatures that should be impossible for them to generate. Fear makes them lie about their strength," Graktal said. "Order all fleets to advance. We will crush their colonies before Earth can respond." The alien armada began moving toward human space. 300 ships from 7 different races, carrying enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. They expected to find weak human colonies protected by mining ships and research vessels. Instead, they found Admiral Ji-hoon Cho waiting for them. "Alien fleet detected," reported the sensor officer on Admiral Cho's flagship, the UES Absolute. "Justice. 300 ships, mixed classes, advancing in formation." "Are our forces in position?" Admiral Cho asked. "Yes, sir. 60 ships ready for engagement." The aliens would have laughed if they knew they outnumbered the human fleet 5-1, but they didn't understand what they were facing. "Open fire," Admiral Cho ordered. The human fleet unleashed weapons that had never been seen in the galaxy before. Beams of pure energy that cut through alien shields like they weren't there. Missiles that created miniature stars when they exploded. Gravitational weapons that crushed enemy ships into balls of metal no bigger than marbles. In 30 minutes, the alien fleet was completely destroyed, not damaged, not defeated, completely erased from existence. Where 300 ships had been, there was now only empty space and floating debris. One alien ship survived. Admiral Cho had deliberately left it intact. "You will return to your War Prime," he transmitted to the surviving vessel. "Tell him that Earth sends its regards. Tell him that this was just the beginning." Back on Earth, the president watched reports coming in from across human space. Every alien probe, every enemy scout ship, every forward base had been eliminated in coordinated strikes. "Mr. President," Admiral Seo reported, "all alien military assets in human space have been neutralized. We have complete control of our territory." "Good. Now we take the war to them." General Park approached with his deployment orders. "Sir, ground forces are ready to begin planetary assault operations. Which worlds do we target first?" The president looked at the star map, showing the locations of alien homeworlds and military bases. For decades, these planets had been safe behind their powerful fleets and defense systems. Now those fleets were gone, and their defenses meant nothing against Phoenix weapons. All of them, the president said. Every alien world that participated in the ambassador's murder. Show them what happens when they choose war over peace. On the bridge of the UES Retribution, Commander Lee received new orders from Earth Command. He was no longer just protecting human diplomats. He was now part of the largest military operation in human history. Set course for the Vorthak home system, he ordered his crew. It's time to visit War Prime Graktail. His ship turned away from the space station where Ambassador Kim had died and began the journey toward enemy space. Behind him came the rest of Earth's war fleet, ships that the aliens had never seen, carrying weapons they couldn't imagine. Captain Eunju Kim, commander of the stealth destroyer Shadow's Edge, was already moving ahead of the main fleet. Her mission was to strike the Nexus Collective's primary shipyard and ensure that no more enemy ships could be built. Dr. Nam worked frantically in his laboratory, preparing the most powerful weapons in humanity's arsenal. The Singularity device was almost ready, a weapon that could destroy an entire star system if necessary. Across the galaxy, alien governments were finally beginning to understand what they had done. Emergency meetings were called. Defense fleets were recalled to protect home worlds. Some races tried to contact Earth and negotiate for peace, but it was too late. Earth had offered peace, and the aliens had responded with murder and laughter. Now they would learn why humanity had spent 2 centuries preparing for this moment. The sleeping giant was awake, and it was very, very angry. Captain Eunju Kim guided her stealth ship through the darkness between stars. The Shadow's Edge was invisible to alien sensors, moving like a ghost toward the Nexus Collective's greatest prize, their primary shipyard at Kepler Station. Target in sight, her navigator reported quietly. 50 alien ships docked for repairs and construction. Through the ship's windows, Eunju could see the massive shipyard spinning slowly in space. It was beautiful in a cold way, all silver metal and blue lights. For 300 years, it had built the ships that kept the Nexus Collective powerful. In 10 minutes, it would be gone. Deploy the singularity charges, Eunju ordered. Her crew worked silently, launching small devices that looked like harmless pieces of space debris. The charges drifted toward the shipyard, guided by computers smarter than any alien brain. When they reached their targets, they would create tiny black holes that would consume everything nearby. Charges in position, the weapons officer reported. Detonate. Space twisted and bent around the shipyard. Reality itself seemed to break as the singularity charges activated. The massive station folded in on itself, crushed by gravitational forces too powerful to resist. The 50 ships docked there were pulled into the collapse, their metal hulls stretching like rubber before disappearing forever. In 30 seconds, the pride of the Nexus Collective became a small black hole that would orbit this star for millions of years. Target destroyed, Eunju reported to Earth Command. No survivors. Moving to secondary objectives. Thousands of light years away, Admiral Ji-Hoon Cho was leading the main assault on the Vorthak Empire. His fleet dropped out of hyperspace at Thopsiai, the edge of their military system, where dozens of enemy ships were waiting. They knew we were coming, his tactical officer observed. Good, Admiral Cho replied. I want them to see what happens to murderers. The Vorthak fleet was impressive. Massive warships covered in armor plating, bristling with weapons that had conquered a dozen worlds. Their commanders were confident they could destroy any human force. They were wrong. Fire all weapons, Admiral Cho ordered. The human dreadnoughts unleashed hell. Antimatter torpedoes struck Vorthak ships and erased them from existence. Energy beams cut through armor like it was paper. Gravitational bombs crushed entire vessels into marbles of compressed metal. The Vorthak commander tried to order a retreat, but there was nowhere to run. Human ships were faster, their weapons had longer range, and their shields were stronger than anything the aliens had ever seen. Sir, the communications officer reported, the enemy commander is requesting surrender terms. Earth does not accept surrender from murderers, Admiral Cho replied. Continue firing until they are all destroyed. On the planet below, General Taehyun Park was preparing for the first human ground invasion in 3 centuries. His target was the Vorthak military world of Kreltalk, where their greatest warriors trained for battle. Remember, he told his troops. "These aliens think humans are weak. They think we're soft farmers and merchants who can't fight. Today we show them how wrong they are." The invasion ships dropped through the planet's atmosphere like falling meteors. Vorthak ground forces were waiting with weapons and armor that had never failed them in battle, but they had never fought humans before. General Park's soldiers moved with precision that amazed even their enemies. Every human had trained for this moment since childhood. Every colonist was a potential warrior. Every farmer knew how to use military weapons. The Vorthak discovered that humans weren't just good at making peace. They were terrifyingly good at making war. "Sir," a Vorthak officer reported to his commander, "the humans are using tactics we've never seen. They fight like they know exactly what we're going to do before we do it." That was because they did know. Human intelligence had been watching alien military training for decades. Every Vorthak battle strategy was known to Earth's generals. Every weakness had been studied and planned for. The battle for Kreltok lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the planet that had trained the galaxy's most feared warriors was under human control. Meanwhile, So-Young Han was completing the most dangerous mission of her life. For months, she had been pretending to work for the Vorthak military, gathering intelligence while risking discovery every day. Now her cover was blown, but she had the information Earth needed. "This is Agent Han to Earth Command," she transmitted from her hidden bunker. "I have the location of the alien superweapon. They call it the Planet Killer. It's on the moon of Vorthak Prime, coordinates following." Her transmission was interrupted by enemy soldiers breaking down her door. So-Young drew her weapon and fought with the skill of someone who had nothing left to lose. She died, but not before sending Earth the exact location of the weapon the aliens had planned to use against humanity's homeworld. President Chan Wook-yoon received the intelligence report in his war room. The Planet Killer was a massive energy cannon that could destroy worlds from across a star system. The aliens had built it specifically to eliminate Earth. "How long would it take them to move it into range of our solar system?" he asked Dr. Nam. 6 months, Mr. President, but they could use it against our colonies immediately. Then we destroy it first. Admiral Seo, prepare the absolute weapon. Admiral Seo's face went pale. The absolute weapon was humanity's most terrible creation. A device that could destroy an entire star and everything around it. "Sir, are you certain?" "Using that weapon." "They built a planet killer to destroy Earth," the president said quietly. "Agent Han died to give us this information. We will not waste her sacrifice." On his flagship, Commander Woo Jin Lee was approaching, the Galactic Council station where Ambassador Kim had been murdered. He could see alien ships fleeing in all directions as news of human victories spread across the galaxy. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "we're detecting War Prime Graktal's personal ship trying to escape the station." "Lock weapons on target," Commander Lee ordered. "That alien killed our ambassador with his own hands. He dies today." The War Prime's ship was fast and well armed, but it couldn't escape human weapons. Commander Lee's ship fired a single torpedo that struck the enemy vessel amidships. But instead of destroying the ship completely, the torpedo disabled its engines and life support. Commander Lee wanted Graktal to live a little longer. "Board that ship," he ordered his Marines. "Bring me the War Prime alive." 30 minutes later, Graktal was dragged before Commander Lee in chains. The proud alien warrior who had laughed, while murdering a diplomat, now looked terrified and beaten. "You killed Ambassador Kim during a peace ceremony," Commander Lee said. "You laughed while he died. Do you have anything to say?" Graktal tried to speak with his old arrogance. "I am a warrior of the Vorthak Empire. I demand to be treated according to the laws of war." "The laws of war?" Commander Lee laughed coldly. "You murdered a diplomat under diplomatic immunity. You have no protection under any law." He gestured to his Marines. "Take him to the same chamber where he killed our ambassador. Let him think about what he's done while he waits for justice." Across the galaxy, the alien alliance that had seemed so powerful was falling apart. 3 races had already surrendered unconditionally. 2 others were begging for mercy. Only the Vorthak and Nexus were still fighting, and they were losing badly. In the secret laboratory where the planet killer weapon waited, alien scientists worked frantically to prepare their ultimate weapon. They had to destroy Earth before the humans destroyed them. But they were too late. High above their moon, Admiral Seo's fleet had arrived with the absolute weapon. Target locked, her weapons officer reported. The weapon will destroy the moon, the planet, and everything in this star system. Fire, Admiral CO ordered. The absolute weapon activated, and the star that had shone for billions of years began to collapse. The planet killer, along with the world that built it, was consumed in nuclear fire that could be seen from 1,000 light-years away. On Earth, President Yoon watched the reports coming in from across the galaxy. In less than a week, humanity had destroyed the most powerful military alliance in galactic history. Mr. President, Admiral CO reported. All alien military forces have been neutralized or surrendered. The war is effectively over. Good, the President replied. Now we begin the trial of War Prime Graktal. The galaxy will see what happens to those who murder our diplomats. The aliens had thought humans were weak because they chose peace over war. Now they understood that humanity's strength came from being able to choose either one, and they had chosen very, very badly. The Galactic Council Station looked very different now. Where alien flags had once flown proudly, human banners hung in their place. The chamber where Ambassador Dae-Ho Kim had been murdered was now a courtroom where his killers would face justice. President Chan-wook Yoon stood at the window of what used to be the council president's office. Below him, he could see alien ships arriving under human escort. They carried the survivors of races that had once ruled the galaxy. Sir, Admiral Mira Seo reported, the last of the surrender delegations has arrived. All 7 races that participated in the ambassador's murder are represented. And their requests for mercy? The president asked. The same as always. They want to negotiate. They offer to pay tribute. They promise never to threaten humanity again. The president turned away from the window. What was our response? The same as always, sir. Earth does not negotiate with murderers. In the station's detention center, War Prime Graktal sat in a cell designed for someone his size. The proud warrior who had killed Ambassador Kim with his ceremonial blade now looked old and broken. His red eyes, once full of arrogance, now showed only fear. Captain Dong-wook Lee, Commander Woo Jin Lee's younger brother, was in charge of the detention facility. He took personal satisfaction in guarding the alien who had started this war. The trial begins in 1 hour, he told Graktal through the cell's force field. Earth's justice will finally be served. Graktal looked up with what remained of his pride. I am a warrior. I demand a warrior's death. You're a murderer, Captain Lee replied coldly. You killed a diplomat who came in peace. You laughed while he bled to death. You get a murderer's justice. The trial was broadcast across the galaxy. Every surviving alien world would watch as Earth demonstrated what happened to those who betrayed diplomatic immunity. General Tae-hyun Park served as the military prosecutor. As the brother of Security Chief Hae-jin Park, who had died trying to protect the ambassador, he had a personal interest in seeing justice done. War Prime Graktal, General Park began. You stand accused of murdering Ambassador Dae-Ho Kim during a diplomatic mission protected by galactic law. You stand accused of murdering his security team, who were guests under your protection. How do you plead? Graktal tried to stand tall, but his chains made it difficult. I am a warrior of the Vorthak Empire. I followed the commands of my superiors. So, you admit to the murders? I removed a threat to galactic security. Humans are a disease that spreads across the stars. General Park played the recording of the ambassador's death. The courtroom watched in silence as Graktal drove his ceremonial blade into a man who had come seeking peace. They heard the aliens laughing as human diplomats died. The evidence is clear, General Park said. The defendant has confessed. I recommend immediate execution. The human judge, Admiral Sung-min Oh, nodded gravely. War Prime Graktal, you are guilty of murder, terrorism, and crimes against diplomatic immunity. The sentence is death by the same method you used to kill Ambassador Kim. Graktal's arrogance finally broke. Please, he begged. I was following orders. I didn't want to start a war. You should have thought of that before you murdered our ambassador, Admiral Oh replied. The execution took place in the same ceremonial chamber where Ambassador Kim had died. War Prime Graktal was forced to kneel in the exact spot where he had killed the human diplomat. General Park picked up the same ceremonial blade that Graktal had used for the murder. The weapon had been cleaned, but human blood had once stained its metal. "Any last words?" General Park asked. Graktal looked around the chamber, seeing human soldiers where alien delegates had once stood. "We should have accepted your peace offer," he whispered. "Yes," General Park agreed. "You should have." The blade fell, and the alien who had murdered Earth's ambassador joined his victim in death. Justice, humanity declared, had been served, but the trials were far from over. Trademaster Nexara of the Nexus Collective was next, followed by the leaders of the other 5 races. Each had participated in planning the ambassador's murder. Each would face the same fate. Colonel Heywan Choi led special operations teams across the galaxy, hunting down every individual who had been present at the ambassador's execution. The aliens who had laughed while a diplomat died would learn that human memory was long and human justice was absolute. On the former Vorthak homeworld, Admiral Ji-Hoon Cho supervised the complete dismantling of alien military forces. Every warship was destroyed or converted to civilian use. Every weapon factory was shut down. Every military base was reduced to rubble. "Sir," his aide reported, "some of the Vorthak civilians are asking if they can emigrate to other worlds." "Let them go," Admiral Cho said. "But they leave with nothing except the clothes on their backs. Their government chose war. These are the consequences." Dr. Young-Soo Nam worked with teams of scientists to study captured alien technology. Most of it was primitive compared to human weapons, but some devices might be useful for peaceful purposes. "Interesting," he told his assistants. "Their medical technology is actually quite advanced. We could adapt it to help their wounded civilians." It was typical of humanity to study ways to heal the people whose leaders had tried to destroy Earth. Even in victory, humans looked for ways to help rather than harm. President Yoon received daily reports on the occupation of alien worlds. Some planets had accepted human rule peacefully. Others required military government until order could be restored. "How are the civilian populations adapting?" he asked General Park. "Better than expected, sir. Many of them are actually relieved. Their military governments were harsh and oppressive. Human rule is much more fair." "Good. Remember, we're not conquerors. We're establishing justice. The guilty will be punished, but the innocent will be protected." On worlds across the galaxy, alien children learned new lessons in their schools. They studied the history of what their leaders had done and why it was wrong to murder diplomats. They learned about Earth's peaceful offers and their government's violent response. Most importantly, they learned that strength without wisdom leads to destruction, and that choosing war over peace always comes with a terrible price. Captain Yunju Kim, hero of the Nexus shipyard destruction, was given command of the new Galactic Patrol. Her mission was to ensure that no alien race would ever again threaten peaceful diplomacy. "Sir," her first officer asked, "what should we do if we encounter hostile aliens who don't know about the war?" "Offer them the same choice we offered their predecessors," Captain Kim replied. "Peace and friendship or complete destruction. Make sure they understand both options clearly." So Young Han was honored posthumously as Earth's greatest intelligence agent. The information she died to obtain had saved countless human lives and helped end the war quickly. A monument to her sacrifice was built on every human world. Commander Woo Jin Lee, now promoted to Admiral, oversaw the transformation of the Galactic Council Station into the Dai-Ho Kim Memorial Center for Galactic Peace. The chamber where the ambassador had been murdered became a shrine to diplomatic immunity and peaceful resolution of conflicts. "It's ironic," Admiral Lee observed to President Yoon during the dedication ceremony. "Ambassador Kim's death accomplished what his life couldn't. It brought peace to the galaxy." "At too high a price," the president replied sadly. "But we'll make sure his sacrifice was not in vain." The trials continued for months. Every alien leader who had participated in planning the ambassador's murder was found guilty and executed. Every soldier who had laughed during the killing was hunted down and brought to justice. Earth's message was clear to anyone intelligent enough to understand it. Diplomatic immunity was sacred, and those who violated it would face absolute consequences. The end of the year, the galaxy had a new order. 7 alien races existed under human protection and guidance. Their military forces were gone forever. Their governments answered to Earth, and never again would a diplomat die for offering peace. The aliens had learned too late that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or weapons, but their absolute commitment to justice and their infinite patience, until that patience finally ended. 1 year had passed since Ambassador Dae-ho Kim's murder. The galaxy looked very different now. Where 7 aggressive alien empires had once threatened their neighbors, peaceful worlds existed under Earth's protection. President Chan Wook-yoon stood in the main chamber of the Dae-ho Kim Memorial Center for Galactic Peace. The room had been completely rebuilt after the ambassador's murder. Where alien delegates had once planned war, representatives from dozens of worlds now worked together on trade agreements and scientific cooperation. Mr. President, Admiral Mira Seo reported, "The last of the war criminals has been executed. Every individual who participated in Ambassador Kim's murder has faced justice." "Good," the president replied. "What about the civilian populations on the former enemy worlds? They're adapting well to human administration. Crime rates are down. Food production is up. Most of them admit that life is better now than it was under their military governments." It was true. The alien races that had chosen war over peace had been ruled by harsh military dictatorships. Their people had lived in fear of their own leaders. Under human rule, they experienced freedom and justice for the first time in centuries. Dr. Yoon Seo Kim, Ambassador Dae-ho Kim's daughter, walked across the memorial chamber toward the president. She wore the blue robes of Earth's diplomatic service, just as her father had worn when he came here seeking peace. "Dr. Kim," the president said warmly, "are you ready for today's ceremony?" "Yes, sir," she replied. "Father would be proud to see what we've accomplished." Today was the first anniversary of the ambassador's death. It was also the day when the new Galactic Constitution would be signed, establishing permanent peace under Earth's guidance. Admiral Woo-jin Lee approached from the communication station. "Mr. President, all fleet commanders are reporting. The Memorial Fleet is in position." Through the chamber's windows, everyone could see the 47 ships of the Memorial Fleet arranged in perfect formation. Each ship represented one of the human worlds that had contributed to the war effort. Each ship bore the name of someone who had died during the ambassador's mission. The largest ship, the UES Ambassador Kim, held a special place at the center of the formation. It was the most powerful vessel in human space, armed with weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. But today it carried no weapons, only flowers from Earth to honor the dead. General Tae-hyun Park, whose sister had died protecting the ambassador, read the names of all the human victims. His voice echoed through the chamber as he spoke of security. Chief Hyejin Park, Intelligence Agent So Young-han, and all the others who had given their lives for peace. "They died believing that diplomacy could solve any problem," General Park said. "They were wrong about that, but they were right about something more important. Peace is worth fighting for." The ceremony continued with representatives from every former enemy world offering formal apologies for their government's actions. Most of these apologies were sincere. The alien peoples had seen what their leaders' choices had cost them. Trade Master Valana, the new leader of the former Nexus Collective, spoke for her people. "We cannot undo the crimes our predecessors committed," she said, "but we can promise that such atrocities will never happen again." The Vorthak were represented by a young warrior named Kethral, who had opposed the war from the beginning. "My people were taught that strength comes from conquest," he said. "Earth has shown us that true strength comes from justice and protection of the innocent." President Yoon listened to each apology with dignity, but his expression remained stern. Forgiveness would come with time and proof of change. Trust would have to be earned. Captain Yoon-ju Kim, commander of the Galactic Patrol, gave her annual report on peacekeeping operations. In the past year, her forces had stopped 3 attempts at illegal military buildup and prevented 2 potential wars between minor alien races. "The galaxy is more peaceful now than it has been in over 1,000 years," she reported. "Trade is flourishing, scientific cooperation is advancing, and no one dares threaten diplomatic missions." That last point was especially important. The fate of those who had murdered Ambassador Kim had been broadcast across the galaxy. Every intelligent being now understood that harming diplomats meant facing Earth's absolute justice. Dr. Young-Soo Nam presented his annual science report. Former enemy worlds were now contributing to peaceful research projects. Alien medical knowledge was helping cure diseases. Energy technology was making life better for billions of beings. The cooperation we have today was exactly what Ambassador Kim hoped to achieve, Dr. Nam said. It came at a terrible price, but it has come. Admiral Ji-hoon Cho reported on the dismantling of alien military forces. All former enemy warships have been destroyed or converted to civilian use. All weapon factories have been closed. All military training facilities have been turned into schools and hospitals. The transformation had been complete. The alien races that had once threatened the galaxy with war were now focused entirely on peaceful pursuits. They had no choice, but many of them seemed genuinely happy with the change. Colonel Haewon Choi, who had hunted down the ambassador's killers, now led efforts to train alien police forces. Former enemy worlds are learning to maintain order without oppression, she reported. It's slow work, but they're making progress. As the ceremony continued, President Yoon thought about the choice Ambassador Kim had given the aliens 1 year ago: peace and cooperation, or the consequences of choosing war. They had made their choice, and now they lived with the results. The new Galactic Constitution was finally presented for signing. It established Earth as the supreme authority for maintaining peace, with local governments handling their own internal affairs as long as they remained peaceful. This document, President Yoon said as he signed it, establishes the principles that Ambassador Kim died trying to achieve: peace through strength, justice for all beings, and absolute protection for those who seek diplomatic solutions to their problems. One by one, representatives from every world in the galaxy added their signatures. Some signed willingly, others signed because they had no choice. But all of them signed, creating the first truly universal peace treaty in galactic history. The ceremony ended with the lighting of the eternal flame, a memorial to all those who had died for peace. The flame would burn forever in the center of the chamber where Ambassador Kim had been murdered, reminding everyone of the price of choosing war over diplomacy. As the delegates left, Dr. Yoon Seo Kim remained behind to speak with her father's memorial statue. The statue showed Ambassador Kim holding the seed he had tried to plant, the seed of peace that had finally grown, watered with his blood. "Father," she whispered, "your dream came true. It just took longer than you hoped." President Yoon joined her at the memorial. "Your father was a good man and a great diplomat," he said. "But he was also naive. He believed aliens would choose peace if it was offered fairly." "He was right," Dr. Kim replied. "They did choose peace. They just needed help understanding the consequences of choosing war first." Outside the Memorial Center, the galaxy continued its daily business under Earth's watchful eye. Merchant ships traveled safely through space that had once been plagued by pirates. Scientific expeditions explored new worlds without fear of military interference. Children of every race learned together in schools that taught cooperation instead of conquest. Admiral Sung-min, now the commander of Earth's Galactic Defense Force, maintained fleets in every sector. His ships were powerful enough to destroy entire civilizations, but their mission was protection, not conquest. "Sir," his aide asked during a routine patrol, "what do we do if we encounter a new alien race that doesn't know about the war?" "The same thing Ambassador Kim would have done," Admiral O replied. "We offer them peace and friendship. We explain the benefits of cooperation, and we make very clear what happens to those who choose violence over diplomacy." On Earth, President Yoon prepared for his final address as leader of the planet that had united the galaxy. His term was ending, but his successor would inherit a peaceful universe where Earth's word was law and diplomatic immunity was absolutely sacred. "Citizens of Earth and the galaxy," he said in his farewell speech. 1 year ago, aliens murdered our ambassador while he sought peace. Today, that same chamber houses the government that ensures no diplomat will ever again die for offering friendship. We did not seek to rule the galaxy. We sought to join it in peace. When that peace was rejected with violence, we had no choice but to impose it through strength. The result is a universe where justice prevails and the strong protect the weak. Ambassador Dae-ho Kim's dream of galactic peace has been achieved. His sacrifice and the sacrifice of all who died with him has created something beautiful from something terrible. They will not be forgotten. The memorial fleet continued its eternal patrol, 47 ships carrying the memory of those who had died for peace. Their mission was to ensure that never again would diplomacy be answered with murder. In schools across the galaxy, alien children learned the story of Ambassador Kim and the war that followed his death. They learned that peace was precious, and that those who destroyed it faced consequences too terrible to imagine. The lesson was simple. Earth offered friendship to all who would accept it. But those